Hi everyone, my name is Don Giannetti. I'm presenting a little show that I did at CapturePhotoCon 2017 here in Phoenix, and I'm doing it here for YouTube. I call it Understanding Photography in a Social Media World. I hope you enjoy it. Take about, I don't know, look at YouTube. It'll tell you how long it took me to do it. I've done it a couple times. It took me about 30 minutes, but we'll see. I hope you enjoy the little show here. You know, there was a time when photography was really precious. We're going to go all the way back to early days of photography. We have to go back to understand where we are today. So some of this is a history lesson that brings us up to where we are today. And by the way, if you're listening to this because you think I'm going to give you some secret to how to find 300 Instagram followers a day, you're wasting your time. The only way to get 300 Instagram followers is to do really, really amazing work and let a million people know about it. There's no secret. There's no tricks. Any secrets, tricks, tips, or whatever you get is a lot of crap, and you'll pay dearly for it in the end because it's not real engagement. So let's go back to when photography was precious. It was science. It was art. It was a talent that took a lot of money. Photography in the early days was for the moneyed class, not the middle class, and not the lowered class. It was a very expensive undertaking. Cameras, the solutions, the chemistry, all of that was very expensive. And those created gatekeepers. The world of photography, you had to have a dark room. Well, right there that's a gatekeeper. You had to know science and art, and the high price of gear needed to start photography. Oh my. It was out of the reach of normal people. There were consumer level cameras introduced about the turn of the century, but they were still fairly expensive. It was the Canon AE1 that really took the masses by storm. Up until that time, there were lots of consumer cameras, brownies, and things like that, but they were generally the kind of cameras that if someone took a roll of film a year, that was pretty much the average. You'd buy a camera, put a roll of film in it, and then it would take you a year to use up that roll of film. But there were a couple of great cameras that were introduced. The Nikon FM, the Pentax K1000, and the Canon AE1. A lot of people got into photography and got into the hobby of photography with those cameras. These cameras allowed a lot of people a way to create art. My most favorite camera still is the Nikon F3. It was an expensive camera for the day, but remember, you bought a camera body that lasted for years. There was 10 years between the F2 and the F3 Nikon. The camera bodies lasted forever, not like today when you're changing camera bodies every 18 months, it seems. Photographers made prints. Photographers made photographs. The prints were culminations of hundreds of hours, thousands of images, all culled down and set to a small group of images that the photographer would then say, okay, I'm going to print. I'm going to put this picture on my wall or in my gallery or in a box somewhere that I can pull it out and look at it. The archive was the reason to be a photographer. To not make a print was not to be a photographer. Yeah, there were chromes. There were transparencies. A lot of photographers, including my dad, shot a lot of chromes and would put them in slide carousels. But for the most part, it was a print world. Now the gatekeepers at this point were the gallery owners, the show exhibitions, and the displays where you had to be selected to hang your pictures on the wall. You had to find a book publisher to publish your images. Because if you couldn't get wall space at a gallery, or you couldn't get pictures into a book, or you couldn't get someone to hire you to make photographs, nobody saw your work other than a few friends, neighbors, and family. that was it. You created work that no one saw. Digital photography came along and changed everything. No more science, no chemistry, no wasted money on film that didn't come out right. We don't have the pollution of analog materials, all that chemistry being poured down the sinks. And we had instant feedback on the back of that camera, instantly letting you know if you, quote, got the shot or not. The digital camera took photography from a slow-growing, quasi-scientific, elitist form of creating archival art and absolutely smashed it into the door of humanity, where everybody could now make photographs with their digital camera. I said at the time that when digital cameras reached a $1,500 price point for a camera and a lens, that would be it. The floodgates would open. And lo and behold, Canon introduced the Canon 10D at $1,500, and they couldn't make enough of them fast enough. The ubiquitous camera, that's the one we carry with us. The invention of the camera phone was just about the same time social media was born. There's no science, there's no gatekeeper, there's nothing standing in the way of anyone who wants to make a photograph of anything and share it instantly with anyone or everyone. Social media is a conversation. It's not a gallery show. It's not supposed to be hung up on the wall. It's not supposed to be archived. The hardest thing for older photographers to understand is Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram. Excuse me. They're meant to be conversations, not galleries, not archives, not boxes of images stuck somewhere. They're conversations. And so the images come and the images go. That's the way a conversation is. To millions of young photographers, there's no need to archive anything. Their images are on their phone. Their images are on their thumb drives. They're on their computers. Actually, their images are in their Facebook, Instagram accounts. They share them with everyone and then move on. I'm not talking about the art photographers. They're still out creating art. I'm talking about the mass of humanity. The image is there to convey a place and time, proof of where you were, and proof of social status, and to be excited about something and share that moment. Like, oh, look at this cool sandwich I just ate. That's not for the wall. That's not a gallery piece. It's a utilitarian use of photographs. Photography on the phone is communicating where you were. It's sharing a color. It's bragging about where you are, how you got there. Just letting friends and family know that you're okay. It's not a snapshot. It's a snap of life. Important right now, and maybe not so important at the end of the day or later. How many of us grab our phones and take a picture of that part we need before we head down to Home Depot? Is that for the wall? No, of course not. Is it photography? Yes, by definition, it's photography. Facebook, the largest social platform on the planet, knows the power of images. That's why they are working so hard to create more and more ways of people sharing images on Facebook and in their groups and in their profiles, because visual branding is the clear winner. Excuse me again. Visual branding is exactly what the world is moving to and will stay there for a long, long time. It's not going away. Visual branding is now the way you brand things. Nobody cares about the text anymore. Nobody cares about your tagline. Nobody cares about your logo. They want to see pictures of you and your stuff. That's the way it works. Facebook even allows you to share images you don't own. Now, a lot of people get upset about that. They fear the loss of control over their image because they're archivists. They feel that that image is theirs. It's a thing. But most people aren't stealing it. They're just saying, isn't this cool? Did you see this? Is this awesome? They're not really stealing the image. And even if they do, it goes by so fast, the loss is imperceptible. So photographers face some dilemmas. And I say that photographers with capital P, the archivists. But photos are special, they say. No, not to everyone. And not every picture is to anyone. And maybe yours is to you, but that doesn't necessarily mean it gets passed on to everybody else. To create value in an ecosphere that doesn't automatically confer it is hard. In other words, photographs to my daughter, who's 20, are really cool, but she doesn't look at dad's pictures and go, wow, that's really awesome, because she makes her own pictures, and she makes pictures for different reasons, and she appreciates great work, but the rest of it, it's just a photograph. Everyone does it. Photography has value because of the amount of work that went into it. Photography has value because of what we place on it. Photography has value because of what somebody else confers to it. Anything that's easy to do, easily cloned and easily mastered will not carry a value. It just won't. If you can push a button and something happens, that thing that happens isn't of much value. So if you're just out taking pictures like I do with my camera phone of parts I need at Home Depot, or I see a cool sunset and I just want to record it, or when I'm scouting locations, I make all kinds of stuff, there's no value I confer on that photograph, none at all. It's the ones that I choose to say, okay, this is the one I have value for. Okay, I can archive that myself. But it doesn't necessarily get that same value conferred onto it by those who see it. Instagram. It started as a purely visual medium. All you did was share images. That was it. Just kind of like Flickr was a long time ago. But now Instagram has text. Now it has videos. Now it has the ability to do stories. Now it's doing live. Why? Because visuals are the most important part of our lives. It's all visuals. Everything we do is based on the visual. And so Instagram's image-centric, image-focused, image-driven, and it lets you create all kinds of image-focused material. It's a clear winner right now. Brand marketing on Instagram, brands have found that you can't sell to young people. You can't sell to millennials. It's hard enough to sell to Gen X. So creating an ad with one photograph that runs in a magazine. Well, let me ask you this. How many of your children who are under the age of 20 buy magazines? Yeah, okay. How many of them look at Instagram? Yeah. So if you're going to sell something on Instagram, you have to do it in a way that's purely visual. You want to sell boots on Instagram? Show pictures of people wearing boots and keep the price tags and the on sale today and press here for more information. Keep that crap off of it because it doesn't work anymore. Just show the product being used in a brand situation so that you can be significantly different than the competition and you have a chance at winning. You can't hardly sell to adults anymore, folks. I'm so attuned out to advertising because I've done it for 30 years. It takes a lot to get me excited about an ad or a promotion. I just go right by it. I don't see it. If you want to get me interested, show me something that I'm interested in and do it visually. Period. Photographer's dilemma number 2. Sorry again. But photos are to be archived. No, they're not. Not really. Not to everyone. and not every picture to everyone. To create value for an archive photograph is difficult. It doesn't automatically confer just because it's archived. It's just a conversation. It's like chatting with your friends with pictures. It's like bringing up a photograph and everybody laughing at it and saying, "Oh, you look so silly." I read it where some teenagers take as many as 500 selfies a day. That's not photography in the archive world of photography. That's a conversation. That's just them having fun with visuals. Photographers have to understand that photography with a capital P has changed. And now we have to blend in with this type of photography, which is communication. Newest player, Snapchat. This is where the images actually go away after 24 hours. That's a real conversation. Here's a picture of my dinner. Here's my friends and I going out. And we know that these aren't archivable, so we're not even going to bother to archive them. We're just going to share them today, and then they're gone tomorrow. Just like having dinner with your friends, you sit and chat. No one records it. No one takes notes. No one archives the dinner. It's just an experience. Photographers are being hired to make images for brands like resorts, cruise lines, restaurants, food services, travel companies, and clothing. They're hired to shoot images on Snapchat and Instagram, purely visual, purely a visual play that goes up on top of headlines and placement and devices, etc. It's pure brand marketing using visuals. That's photography today. There are Instagrammers with millions of followers, millions of them. So if you're a brand, finding a popular Instagrammer makes sense. So if you're a travel agency or a travel company that puts together corporate places to go or adventure, you find a photographer that has 4.5 million followers. Well, those followers of that Instagram photographer, that's a considerable number of people you can reach. And so you contact that photographer and have that photographer shoot for you, whether for Instagram or for your ad campaign, because you know instantly that that photographer is going to bring at least 2.5 million people to the ad, because the people who are following that photographer are going to see it. It's a new way of doing business as photographers, and it's pretty amazing. How do you get more followers? By making excellent photographs people want to see, by engaging with other photographers and the people who comment on your work. If you don't comment when you're first getting started, and you don't talk to the people who say, "Hey, nice shot," or whatever, if you don't talk to them, they'll eventually go away too, because other people are talking to them. So make it a dialogue. If it's too much work for you, understand it's going to be a difficult place for you to go. What's next? I have no idea. I can tell you that visuals have won, and visuals will be the leading market tool for the for the foreseeable future, for sure. Visuals have won. Photography, illustration, design, it's the clear winner. You can't get them with text anymore. You can't get them with headlines anymore, but you can stop them with a photograph. That means it's incumbent on photographers to get better and better and better at doing what they do. If you don't, you die. It's that kind of market. So I hope you enjoyed. It's a little short presentation on where I see photography in a social media world. And you can check out my blog at lighting-essentials.com. That's lighting-essentials.com. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Have a great day.